A New York jury finding former President Trump guilty on 34 counts in his so-called hush money trial. Here's the 45th president's reaction moments after the verdict came down.
This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end and we'll win. Because our country's gone to hell, and we will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over.
The Judge Merchan, set sentencing for July 11th, just 4 days before the Republican National Convention. Joining me now is Florida Congressman Cory Mills, a member of the House Armed Services and Foreign Affairs Committees. Congressman, I know you've been in the courtroom with President Trump. Your reaction to the verdict?
Well, I absolutely agree with the president. This is absolute disgrace. You know, the scales of justice, usually they talk about the idea that the judge puts the thumb on the scale of justice, but this judge has literally thrown it right out the window. This was a hung jury and a hung court from the very beginning. We knew it was a kangaroo court Banana Republic when they changed the venue last minute, when they changed the rules with the last minute, when the prosecutors did not prove without a shadow of doubt whether or not the president was guilty. He couldn't prove whether or not there was any wrongdoing in the general ledger entry. You had two of their supposed star witnesses, one who lacks complete moral compass, the other who lacks integrity. And you're going to tell me that 34 jurors of his peers came to a conclusion without a shadow of a doubt? I was in that courtroom. I can tell you that's not the case. And meanwhile, you have Judge Merchan, whose daughter's raving hundreds of millions of dollars for the Biden-Harris reelection, for Adam Schiff. The conflict of interest here could not be greater. And I think at this point, obviously, the president has more than enough reason for appeal. That's going to take months going forward. But I think that what the Congress needs to do with the help of Chairman Jim Jordan is we need to step up our efforts. We should be subpoenaing Judge Merchan's daughter's financials. We should be looking at how much money was actually made in this scheme. We need to look at the LLC in Miami to determine whether Judge Merchan is financially benefiting from this as well. But we also need to be looking at how much of the federal funding or state funding was utilized by AG Bragg so that we can get even more further details into this. Look, we cannot allow our constitutional republic, which is built on the rule of law, to be a politicized, weaponized justice system that allows it to do election interference by targeting your political opposition. If this happens to a sitting former president, what's next for other conservatives? What's next as we go back to the 2004 Obama era where the IRS is weaponized against conservative organizations? Look, this is an absolute disgrace. And this is an absolute black eye, and it's a sad day for America when the rule of law doesn't stand for the rule of law anymore.
Well, look, you've said a lot of things, and, you know, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. Whose decision is it? Are you going to do it? Whose decision? Is this Mike Johnson's decision? Is this the chairman of Judiciary's decision?
Well, I can tell you right now, a lot of
is
it
this going to happen, or is this more empty words?
No, a lot of the sits on Judiciary, and I should be sitting with Chairman Jordan. And look, I want the Judiciary Committee to step up and do this. If they're not, my chief of staff and myself, we're already looking whether or not we need to take this through regular order, which would take it through the Judiciary Committee that I don't sit on. But we can't continue to pander. I'm with you 1,000%, Maria. Nothing has been done the way that it should.
That's exactly right. Congressman, you posted this on X yesterday. You said today's verdict is not about justice or ensuring no one is above the law. Today is further proof of how the scales of justice have been thrown out and how weaponization of the justice system can be used for political persecution. And, Congressman, we're hearing this from basically all Republicans. But I guess the question is what can be done about it? I mean, how come no one on the left feels this way? How come, I mean, is it possible that your colleagues on the left think that this was all fair and square?
You know what I think? I think that right now it's time to stop playing defense and play offense. And I've been saying this from the very beginning. You know, I tried to drop impeachment articles against Joe Biden for his abuse of power, for his abuse of violation of separation of power, for his inability to try and he violated this faithful oath to office, all the different things. And I was told, oh, well, slow roll this a little bit because we need to get appropriations through. Look, I'm sick of trying to sit here and worry about what the Senate's doing. I wasn't elected to the Senate. I was elected to the House. We need to do our job, and we need to be able to step up and get accountability. We need to stop this absolute weaponization, and we need to get out there and start looking at how our DAs and AGs can start stepping their roles up. We need to start looking at the fact that we should start subpoenaing some of this money that's being utilized to determine whether or not is Judge Merchan getting 10% for the big guy. Look, this wasn't about the Trump trial. This was the Biden trial.
Yeah, well, that's another good point, because we haven't heard much about the Oversight Committee's investigation into the
But I'm sick of hearing, Maria.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I know
all I
that.
hear is
So
one
am
more
I.
hearing, one
Yeah.
more piece of evidence, one more. We've got more than enough. You had President Trump, who was absolutely, he was impeached wrongfully twice for far less than what we have on Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. Where's the case against Hunter Biden? Where's the case against him lying about getting a weapon? Where's the case against the Hunter Biden laptop? Where's all this that was actually going forward? Because I'm tired of hearing one more hearing, one more piece of evidence. This is my own party. I get it. But I'm sick of the president being the scapegoat for all of Americans.
Yeah, voters are as well, by the way, Congressman. Here's President Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche, last night with Jesse. Watch.
The gag order that was put in place, and you had a situation where President Trump, who's on the campaign trail and is trying to compete with voices that are saying things every day that he cannot respond to without the risk of being fined, which he was, or going to prison for violating it. That affects not only President Trump, that affects every voter, whether they're going to vote for President Trump or against President Trump. That affects every single voter in this country, because they don't get to hear from the candidate.
I want to get your reaction to that gag order. But, Congressman, last night when I saw President Trump saying, there was no fraud, I did nothing wrong, I had this deja vu, and I thought, this is exactly what he was doing in 2017, in 2018, saying there was no collusion. I didn't collude with Russia. I mean, they had been attacking him and trying to stop him. Literally, it's been 5 or 6 years at this point. What are they so afraid of? Why are they so afraid of Trump?
Well, because they know that he can win, that he's going to take back the presidency, and he's going to change the corruption in the deep state. He knows that the deep police state, just like when they're trying to hire the 87,000 armed IRS agents, they're trying to increase their powers and try and violate our constitutional rights and liberties. He knows that the rest of the left and the rest of the deep state knows he's there to clean house. And look, Todd Blanche did a phenomenal job. I was there during his cross-examination of Michael Cohen. He showed very clearly there was no credibility whatsoever. So these jurors that actually went out and said that they unanimously found this, even though Judge Merchan tried to eliminate unanimity, is an absolute joke. But look, think about it this way. I think that we, as the Republican Party, first off, to poke them in the eye, we should go ahead and move our GOP conference and elect President Trump as our nominee on July 4th. We know they're trying to prevent him from coming to the actual GOP gathering, and so we should go ahead and start looking at that. But we have to start stepping up our efforts, Maria. I'm sick and tired of this whole thing about one more hearing, and I'm gonna beat the horse here, but one more hearing, one more piece of evidence, one more this, one more. We have to start getting accountability. We can't just continue to sit on our laurels and say, oh, well, we're the actual, party of the rule of law. We're the party of process. Look, we have more than enough to continue to move forward. We need to launch investigations. We need to follow the money, find the facts. That's what this is all about. And we have to ensure that something like this never happens again, because the precedents that are being set by the left is that no one is safe, that you are guilty until proven innocent, not the other way around, and that they can continue to do this kangaroo-style court and this third-party banana republic, where you're just going to be guilty because we say you're guilty as a political operative.
Yeah, I saw this somewhere else, and I just want to reiterate what you just said. Are you saying that you are proposing moving the Republican National Convention to July 4th as opposed to July 15th? Is that what you just said?
That's exactly what I'm saying. If they're going to try and go ahead and do a sentencing on the 11th, which I know would hold him up, I say that we bring President Trump, we move it, and we elect him as our nominee on July 4th, Independence Day, and we start moving forward. I think that's a symbolic measure, and I think it tells them exactly where we're at as America.
Have you discussed this with any other colleagues? Is this a real thing? Is this just your opinion? I did see this in one other place, so
this
I'm
is my
wondering
opinion right
how
now,
much
but I know that other
has.
colleagues will absolutely share in this.
Okay, Congressman, we'll be watching that. Thanks so much, Cory Mills. Good to see you, sir.
Thank you, Maria.
All right, quick break, and then we are discussing the